Hello, welcome to my channel, The Jellyfish Journals. My name is Susie, and I am super excited to have this to share with you. I also just realized why I clip my lamp to a shelf on the wall and not to my table because it jiggles with my table. So apologies for that. I'm gonna do my best not to bump the table and then I'll move my light back. So I recently bought the Archer and Olive subscription box. I think it was called Beekeeper's Garden. And in that subscription box came this little B6 journal. And this is a new size to me. I typically use the A5s. I use the B5 for my reading journal, but this came with the kit, so I was not sure what I was going to do with it. And then I saw Elizabeth, I think, over at the Joyful Sojourn, and she had a swatch journal, and I thought, ooh, that's fun. I could do that. I could do one of those. So I started looking online, and I started looking at swatch journals and what do people do and how do they do them, and I pinned all these cute little things, and in the end, I really had to slow down, and I had to step back, and I had to think, Susie, what is useful to you? And once I did that and took into account all the other things that I had seen, this is what I came up with. And I am happy to say I love it. I love what I've done here. It has already been very useful to me for a lot of different reasons, which I'll share with you as I go. But I will also say I personally, in my digging, did not see anybody else do a swatch journal like this. And so if you're somebody who's been considering doing this, this might just be another option for you. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I decided to do was, before I open, even though I said let's get started, most of the time what I see people do when they have a swatch journal is they will take a collection of marker or pen. So something like this, where they're all the same brand and same style and came out of the same package, and they will swatch all of this on one page. And I like that idea, and I think it looks really cool, but I know myself, and I know for me, that's not useful. Because when I go look for something to use in my pen stash or my marker stash, I'm not looking at a brand. I'm looking for a color. And I knew right away that something like that, where I would take all these different colors and lay them out on one page and write the name of a color next to it, this would not end up being helpful to me because it would end up, I would still be flipping through every brand of marker or pen to look for the right color. And so what I decided to do was group my pens and markers by color instead of by brand. And I'm not saying I'm the only one who's done it this way. I just didn't come across anybody doing it this way. So if you see or know of anybody else that does it like this, please drop a note in the comments because I would love to see how they approached it this way compared to how I did. So now that I've said that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up. So first thing I did was I used different stickers for my name, and I put Swatch Journal down here. These are just some ocean stickers that came with a sticker set I used in my classroom. I'm going to move you out of the way a little bit. And I put that down there. So nothing too fancy. And then we get right into it. So what I did was I went through all of my markers and pens, gel pens, and I pulled out everything that had a red tone. And this did take a while because sometimes, as we know with like super tips, the cap does not always match the color of the ink. So I did have scratch paper. I tested them all out. And then I used my Archer and Olive stencil, and I'm going to see if I have that handy. I think I do. Yes. So I used this, stencil from Archer and Olive, and I'll link everything I can down below. But I thought this box here was a nice size, and they're pretty cool because they'll put the numbers. It's kind of hard to see, but they'll put the numbers. So this is 6 boxes tall, 7 boxes across. And I just traced a bunch of these with pencil. And then I added a little bit of a rectangle at the top to make it look like it was taped on there. And I took the different reds and I just swatched them out in the different boxes. So now they kind of look like they're taped to the page. I know, maybe not quite that good, but that's the idea. And then what I did is I took my micron, my Pigma micron, I traced around the box, and then I gave it a drop shadow and colored the tape the same color as the drop shadow. And underneath each one, I put down what the marker is, or the pen is, and what color it is. So now this was a little bit of pre-prep as well, because as you know, if you do any of this stuff, you're probably familiar with like super tips. They don't have names or numbers or anything identifying on them. So a little while back, my daughters had some fun and they decided they were going to give them names for me. And so what they did was they swatched them out. That one has cat hair in it, of course. And they wrote down the name of what they would call the color. And so that's what I go by with my super tips. I very much recommend, I used a fine point Sharpie to write those on there, or they wrote them on there. And then I took a piece of Scotch tape and taped over it, because even if it's with Sharpie, it will rub off as you use it. So now those names are on there and they're there to stay. I did the same thing with, let's see, oops, they're falling off the table now. I did the same thing with my mild liners. So we named those some different things. And I wrote it on there, taped over that. So we've got those on there. And I did the same thing with my S notes. So wrote the name on there. And again, to me, it doesn't matter what the name of the marker is. Like, I don't care about that at all. I just needed a way to identify it for myself. So if it says like super tip lobster red, well, now I know to go to where my super tips are and find the one that's lobster red, or named lobster red. My gel pens are all jelly rolls, and I just used the number above the SKU. I don't have those handy because I keep those upstairs where I like to doodle at night while I watch TV. Tombows have a number on them, so that's fine. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. My Papermate flares, I kind of just wrote whatever the color was on there. But for the most part, if you're curious what I named them, it's just something that we came up with. I think there's one that's called Baby Poo. I think there's one that's called a Wannabe Red or Wannabe Pink or something. My daughters just kind of had fun with it, and I didn't really care. So that's kind of how I did all of these going throughout the Swatch journal. And I, up in the corner, whenever it's a new color, I just had some fun trying out different fonts. The way I would do this was I would type in, I think I would type in red word handwritten or something like that in Google, and I would just find an image of somebody who had already written the word, and I would just use that style. And the last thing I did was I took out some ink and a little brush, so a brush like this, kind of. And I just inked around the edges with that color just so that it stood out. And it kind of made it cool because if you can see here, you can tell all the pages that are markered because they all have the ink colors all the way around. So that was kind of a fun little accident. So yeah, moving on, I'll kind of just flip through. I always tried to leave a few extra boxes just in case I end up with more colors. I don't really need any more markers. If you're curious about my craft space or my marker storage, pen storage, just leave a note in the comments. I'm happy to do a video of that, although I'd probably try to get it done before the school year starts soon. But just in case I acquire a new color, I can just put that in there. This has already been proven to be super helpful when I was at Michael's recently. I love this B6 size. I stuck it right in my purse. And when I got there, and I think it was their Tombos were buy one, get one free, I was able to flip through all my colors, see which ones I already had, and go from there. Now, granted, that might be an example of when having all the colors laid out by one brand would be easier. But I also know myself, and I know I have a ton of pinks and I have a ton of blues. And so, again, I didn't need to look at that in a list to know that. But I don't have a lot of reds. I know this seems like a lot, but wait till you see pink and blue. So I don't have a lot of reds. So I would be more inclined to go directly to the color red in the store and then look to see if I have those reds. And I hope that makes sense, but it totally makes sense to me. So then we moved on to orange. And there's some extra spaces. This also worked out well because certain colors that I feel like could fall in extra categories, like this might not be the best example of that, but like, for example, some reds might kind of be pinky also. So I was able to swatch it in the reds and swatch it in the pinks. And I liked being able to do that too. Because sometimes a color just reads more red to me, and then sometimes it reads more pink, depending on the project. So then we have my yellows. And I think every color, yeah, has 2 pages. But see, like, there aren't that many variations on yellow. You can already see here, a lot of these look very similar. Like these two look super similar. This is a Tombow and that's a super tip, but they look almost identical. So I didn't leave as much space for yellows. I will probably never intentionally go find a yellow. Here's green. And then on to aqua. These are my favorite pages because that's my favorite color. And sometimes, like this one, this is another good example. This totally reads green to me right now, but I know when I'm looking for the right shade of aqua, this may end up being what I'm looking for. Even though my brain is not thinking green, my brain will be thinking aqua, and this would be what I was looking for. Gonna keep going. We've got blues, and you'll see I have a lot of blues. Same thing. I don't think I will ever intentionally go look for a blue, so I don't need as many empty spaces there. Then we've got purple, which always makes me think of my mom. Lots of purples too, and some purples read as pink, but they could fall under both categories, of course. Then we've got pinks. And moving on to browns. And so like this kind of reads a little orange, this kind of reads a little orange, but I know I might in my brain think of them as light browns. Got a couple that read as golds, but yeah, that's baby poo, in case you were wondering. It's pretty accurate actually, so I kind of like it. And I guess this one I never labeled. That's funny. I'll have to go find that one. And then we've got gray. And blacks and whites. And what I did for this one, I cut out a piece of black construction paper so that the white gel pen would show on top of it. I obviously don't have a lot of whites. It's usually the gel pens or the Uniball Signos, which I love, highly recommend. And then the different sizes of jelly roll whites and all the different blacks, which I think this one I need to buy a new one. That one was running out, so that's not entirely accurate there, but like here's another black one I made just so that I'm able to swatch if I need to. And then after each section, I left one empty page just because I you know, it's kind of hard to know ahead of time what you're going to need to make this useful and finished. So just in case something comes up, sorry, I bumped that, or whatever, I have an empty page in here just for whatever, journaling emergencies. So then we're going to move on to washi tape. And this is where this swatch journal gave me just a lot of, I guess, a better overview of what I have with me. And again, this is so helpful if I take it to the store, like you'll see in a minute. I don't have a lot of reds. So the last few times I've gone to the store, I've been looking for more red washi tape so that I have other options here. I got to practice some stamping, and I'll show you in a minute. I was doing a terrible job, but I was learning. Like I said, I learned a lot making this journal, and I did go back and fix these. So the word orange was actually that long before, because I tried to put the stamps on the block, and there was a little bit of rubber around each one that made the spacing huge. So I finally went back and I redid it one letter at a time, which I thought came out much better. And that Uniball, that Signo Uniball, is so good for cleaning up any stray stamping, because I'm learning. I'm not that good at it yet. And so again, this was really fun for that trial and error thing. Some of the things like this you're going to see is probably from a PET tape. So I know I have a PET tape that has orange trees on it, but in case, like, most of the roll is green, but I didn't want to forget that there are a couple of orange trees in there. Same thing here. That's a red peony PET tape this one's from the Washi Tape Shop. These are from the Washi Tape Shop. And I do have a code. It's the Jellyfish 10. If you want to head to the Washi Tape Shop, you can get 10% off. So here's where I'll slap a little screenshot of what the word yellow used to look like and why I ended up redoing it. And I can see under this light that the paper is not exactly the same, but again, this is just for me. Some of these you'll see, like this one here, is a lot of colors, but I wanted it in there because I don't have a lot of washi tape with yellow in it at all. And so if I just wanted a pop of yellow, this will help me remember that I have that. Same here with the limes and pineapples. Green, you can see I have a ton of green, and this is from that same washi tape roll as the orange tree was. Then we've got aqua, and this one looks kind of weird, but if I move it just right, you can see it reads aqua. It's iridescent, but it always ends up favoring purpley aqua in the light. And then blue, this is another washi tape that I got. I love this washi tape so much. This I got on Amazon. And this is another really beautiful one, also Amazon, I believe. I'll link all of this down below. Purples, and again, this and this both came from that PET tape. So you can see there's a few different trees in there. Let's see. Moving on. These are also from Washi Tape Shop. And I didn't need a lot of it. I just needed a little bit so that I would remember what I had. Brown. So that might be one if I'm at the store and I see a good brown washi tape, I'll know that I don't have a lot. And then my black, whites, and grays. These are my foil washi tapes. So rose golds, golds, and silvers. These are sets. So like these, I think all came together. These were two separate sets, but I love bees, and so I like knowing what I have. This was a set I bought at Hobby Lobby that I used for my reading journal. My neons. These came together, I think, also Hobby Lobby. And then this is from that same subscription box that this whole notebook came from. You get these 4 washis. They're so beautiful. I just love it. And then these are plants and flowers. I had a bunch of those. Space for more, of course. And you can probably see, I don't know if you can see actually, but you can kind of see like right here on the ampersand where I cleaned up a little bit with that white gel pen, but from a distance you can't tell, so it's kind of nice. Then I left a space there, and then I moved on to my inks. So this up here is the brand of ink in the corner, and then these are the colors I have. So these are the distressed inks I have. These were acid-free ink pad pigments. I don't remember. I think these were like the store brand from Michael's or Hobby Lobby, maybe. I can't remember. These aren't really great quality. These came with a kit that my 3rd grade team bought when we were doing a craft project with our students, and the other teachers were like, no, we don't want them, so they gave them to me. But I've already used up like 3 of them. They dried out super fast. And then these are just extra inks that I have. So I have a couple from Archer and Olive, and then these are Michael's colors. The gold I'm in love with. I use it in my self-care journal. empty page and then on to the stamps that I have. So I tried to write down where I got the stamps from. So this was a floral set, and you can see I'm kind of stinky at it, but really this is just so I know what I have. This was a brick one I got from Michaels. This is a letter set that also came from Michaels. And these are the ones I used before for all of the washi tape pages. These mandalas came from Michaels, or lace doilies. They look more like lace doilies, to be honest. I haven't used them in anything yet. This one came out pretty good, but I'm still learning. These were from Joann's as they were closing, so I don't know if you can get those anymore. An Archer, this came with the Archer and Olive Rest and Renew box, their self-care box. Some of these aren't really my style, but it was kind of fun because as I was doing it, so like one thing I learned is this page now, since most of the book is on the other side of the journal, on this side, when I went to stamp here, it wanted to stamp the far ends, but not the middles of things as well. You'll see it again in a minute. But, you know, some of this I just didn't realize like was in there. Like I liked this habit tracker, and you don't have to stamp the self-care ritual part of it. Don't ink that part, just ink this part if you want to, and that's perfect. Same thing, you could use a marker like those Tombow markers and just stamp the circle if you need small circles. You don't have to stamp color of the sunset, color of the sky. So I think there's a lot of things you can do with this, you know, even if it's not your cup of tea. This was the Archer and Olive stamp set that came, oh, not that. This stamp set came with the Bee subscription box that this journal came from, and that washi tape. And then this was a stamp I got at Joann's. And this is the last one. This was, I think they're sold out of this one, but this was their last Moonlit Garden stamp or release they did before the one they just did a couple days ago. And this is their Moonlight Garden stamp set, which I mostly got because I like that moon. And I'm going to say I stamped that very well. I'm very proud of myself. And that's pretty much it. I've got some extra room back here for more stamps if I happen to acquire any. But I'm super happy with how this turned out. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think, or if you have any questions. Or like I said, if you'd like to see a tour of my little tiny craft nook. But other than that, I hope this inspired you to start your own Swatch journal, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.